What's up, everybody? So this is part 2 of my motor upgrade adventure. We had a big snowstorm 2 days ago, so it's like, it's freezing outside. There's a lot of snow outside, so it's cold in the garage. I'm not actually gonna do any work tonight. Just out here to give you a quick information on that the motor arrived. The new 5T motor. Hopefully it's the 5T this time. Fingers crossed. So we're gonna open it up, see what we got here, and verify that it's definitely the 5T. Better be. Here she is. All right, so it says NBPWP 40H. 40H with the magnets 40 when you see that, just by the way. 2011-20 and 50-190. I'm gonna give you a close-up on it. When it says 50, the first two numbers of the third set of numbers on the NB power motors, that means that it is a 5 because it was a 50. Now, if it was like the other one I had, since it was a 3.5T, that one had a 3 as the first number, so that means it would be a 3.5 or a 3T motor. So this is definitely a 5T motor. Thank you, Jesus. Here is the tire I have to install on it. It is a Dunlop K990, same one I had on the other motor, but I sold that other motor with the tire on it, so I had to get another one. Now I have the absolute joy and pleasure of being able to mount this mother humper onto the new motor. So I want to put it in front of the fireplace so I can heat it up. When you heat it up, what it does is it makes the rubber expand a little bit, makes it a little more pliable so that it's easier to get on the rim. And that's like super important when you're dealing with a moto tire. Because if you have done a moto tire, you know they're difficult. So you want as much flexibility and pliability as you can get. And I'll probably leave the motor out here while I'm doing it in the cold garage so that doesn't expand. That stays, I don't know if this is really gonna make much of a difference, but any little bit can help. So where we left off, you saw at the end of the video, I took a ride. I was ticked off, really ticked off that I got the wrong motor, and I verified that, went back, messaged the seller, and the seller's like, oh no, yeah, we screwed up. We sent you the wrong motor. I was like, yeah, you sure did. And I'm like, well, no, you're gonna send me the correct motor. And they're like, well, you have to buy another motor. I'm like, hold up, partner. So you sent me the wrong motor, I expect to get compensated for that. They kind of played hardball with me. They're like, well, why don't you just sell it and then, you know, we'll give you a discount on a new one, like $100. I was like, no. I was like, hold on. There was a lot of work that I had to go through. You know, it wasn't the correct motor. So I ended up going back and forth. I ended up filing through PayPal a dispute. And I guess they saw that dispute, so they came back and they wrote that I could send the motor back to him or meet a guy up in Manhattan, or actually he's a little bit out of Manhattan, New York City, who's about an hour and a half away from me. And I could drop it off there and they would give me the refund. I'm thinking about it, I'm like, it's kind of sketchy, man. Because I pulled it up on Google, it looked like some dude's house. So I'm like, So I'm gonna see if I can sell this. So I put it up on one of the Facebook groups. And actually, it got a lot of interest, and I was able to sell it relatively quickly in like 2 days, which was awesome. And I wish that guy the best of luck with that wheel. It's actually a great wheel, great tire. It's gonna do very well for him if for the 3.5T motor, which is it's a nice, fast, powerful motor. And again, just to reiterate, I wanted the 5T because I'm almost always off-road, especially with this tire. The road will chew this tire up a good bit. But I'm excited to get to work on this. I also have a dirt bike I have to work on too, a new RMZ 2015 250, and I have so much upgrades I want to do to that bike too. So I'm trying to like split my time around between all my different projects and all the video editing I do for not just this stuff, but clients. So it gets busy. I'm probably going to be putting the old Sabvoton 7200 back in there instead of the new one, or maybe save the new one for a rainy day. I'm not sure yet. I think the problems I was seeing on the display and the voltage with that new Sabvoton controller was that this battery has a limitation of the BMS being 150 amp max. I thought I was going to get a boost with that secondary battery because that has a 40 amp BMS in as well. So I was thinking, well, I should get at least 190 amps. total, but I don't know that it was drawing that correctly, because I didn't feel any performance difference, didn't notice any performance difference, but I did see the voltage dropping on the display, like wildly fluctuating. And I know a lot of people comment on that, what it could be, but it's either that or it's not interfacing correctly with that new controller, and it's just showing stuff that this controller did not show when it was hooked up to this. It could be either one of those two things. I don't know that anybody will ever know for sure, because the way these things work. Who knows how they program them, how they set the firmware up at the factory. You know, I don't know. But so I'm probably gonna put this guy back in there, you know, rerun the cabling, and then I'm really excited to see how this guy performs off-road. I'm expecting good things, at least as far as acceleration and torque-wise. So let's start the journey. One other quick little tip. Again, I don't recommend everything at Harbor Freight. There's some crappy stuff at Harbor Freight, but this little thing is great. It's this bit holder I got. There's a lot of bits I tend to use in the drills quite often, so I'm always, you know, looking through the drawers, trying to find where they're at. This thing keeps them all in a nice little handy dandy organized. It's magnetic on the back, magnetic in here, so they just stick in there, they don't fall out. So I stick this on the side of my tool chest, and I got bits I typically use all the time. Always using these Allen bits for all these electric bike things, and this is great. Get yourself a good set of Allen bits that are quick change for your drills, okay? This will save you so much time. If you know, people sit there hand cranking stuff, oh my God. Now, if it's something specific like adjusting your brake disc, or you're adjusting the torque on your head nuts, at the end, yeah, use a hand Allen key to get it real specific and drilled in. But like if I'm taking all the bolts off the side of my panels, or if I gotta drill something that's a long bolt, there's no way I'm gonna sit there and hand crank that. So getting yourself a good set of quick change Allen bits will change your life. Really, trust me.
Day 2.
So as you guys can see, I've got this wooden platform here, and to mount the tire on the rim, I had to drill a hole in this, and so I could fit the other side with the cable down in there, and then I just put some foam underneath to give a little bit of padding so I'm not scratching up the rim. And I'm gonna bring the tire in from the fireplace in a minute. We're gonna start to mount this bad boy up. So one other thing I'm doing is I'm putting rim tape. Actually, yeah, before I start mounting, I have to put the tape on so that you don't risk any of these spokes tearing through your tube. It's got the little hole. This is special stuff I buy, and you just basically wrap it all the way around. I got my heavy duty 18-inch motorcycle tube. This is a thick one. I don't want to risk getting a flat. And what you want to do is you want to put some air in it, and when you put it in the tube, so you really reduce your chances of getting a pinch flat when you're installing it, which is hugely important, man. If you mount this thing and then you find out the rim's got a hole, the tube's got a hole in it, lots of work taking it back off. So be smart about it. So here's the tire. Got it propped up in front of the fireplace, and it is hot, man. Like, it's actually like gummy to the touch. Whole living room smells like rubber, actually. So that's what you want to do. You want to get it nice and hot, nice and pliable, because before, when I brought it out of the garage, it was hard and it wasn't very yielding. Merry Christmas. So, man, I got the one side on. I got so hot, I had to take my jacket off. I was sweating. Yeah, man, it's tough. So the one side's on. So now, as you can see, I got this side. This is actually the harder side. And this is the side I just really dread, but it's time to go to it. Oh my God, guys. Oh my God. This was, so I mounted it up the first time. One side went on easy. Got it all the way up to this point where there was like 5 inches. Went to go it in, popped her in, and as soon as it was popping in, psst, caught the tube. Oh, I was so upset. I was so mad. Got it off, yanked it off, and I had 2 other tubes. And I'm like, thank God I have extra tubes. I don't feel like doing this again, but whatever. Put the second tube in. Started going around. And I must have, I thought I got it all in, went to pump it up, no air. I must have nicked it at some point, and I can't believe I did it because I was running my hand all the way in, making sure I didn't catch the tube with one of these tire irons. I was like, oh crap. Took the tire off again, which I'm getting pretty good at taking tires off now, at least. You gotta use the flat side to take it off. It comes off much faster with the flat side as opposed to the little lip side. So, down on my third and final tube. I said, no way am I screwing this up. I put it in, get it in, and then I go to pump it up. Psh, right down here, air's coming out. I'm like, that's crap, because I didn't even use this tire iron down there. I used it here and here to start, not in the middle. So there was a hole in the tube. The third tube, brand new tube, had a hole in it already, which really pissed me off at this point. I had no tire patches. Had to go out, take a drive to Pet Boys, got a tire patch kit, patched it up. Thank God the patch worked. Got it on, got it in, it held air, went all the way up to 50 PSI, then brought it back down. It's sitting at like 15 PSI now. I'll probably ride it at like 10. Yeah, so now I realized that they also did not send me, like they did on the last wheel, they did not send me the cable protector coming out the other side, which I'm kind of annoyed at. You know, it's just one thing after another with these people. And I gotta crank my flywheel down, and then I gotta make a new connector for the hall wire to hook up to the other Sabvoton controller because they have different type connectors. So man, I wasted a whole lot of time on this freaking thing. It's like what, 5:30? I started at like 2 o'clock. Man, what a nightmare. It should not take that long to do something like this. And I wasted 2 tubes. So learn from my mistakes, guys. Just be very careful when you're using your tire irons and the motorcycle tubes to put the tire on. I got some nicks here, but I'll paint those up with some metal paint. That'll look fine when it's done. And yeah, so on to making the connector. Hey, so if you're still with me, I've got the wheel on. I haven't tightened everything up yet. I just kind of mounted on there. I got my spacing perfect. Again, just like it was before. It's exactly the same. So I'm happy with that. So like I said, this new motor, different company had a different connector. It uses this style. You can see that. And then this is the style from the old controller. Hopefully you can see that. I don't know if it's focusing or not. But so what I'm doing is using these little posi lock connectors. I stripped the wires off. I'm using the secondary hall sensor. Hopefully that doesn't matter. I don't think it should, but I'm gonna connect these two together and use that secondary one to connect to the controller, and hopefully that works. Hopefully it's okay. Check back with you in a bit. And now it is time to start cranking it down. Darn box is in the way. Christmas gifts. So when you crank it down, you just check it still spins. Yes, it does. I haven't attached the brake yet. It's still loose. So with this breaker bar, you can really put a lot of torque on a bolt. So you want to be careful how much torque. You don't want to put too much pressure on it. You want to get it tight, but you don't want to over tighten. So I have my swing arm spread out as far as it can possibly go. I actually had to pull it out a little bit to get the tire in, which was tough. So I had to use my fingers to hold up a 50-some pound wheel at the same time as I'm like this. I'm trying to spread it out and pushing them. Oh my gosh, it was hard. You gotta have some strong fingers, folks. Strong fingers. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. All right, that's pretty tight. Now, one thing, I don't know if the audio is gonna pick it up, but when you crank down your swing arm and you turn your wheel, there's always a little tiny vibration at the end. And I've talked to like 3 or 4 other guys, and they've all said the same thing. When they've cranked theirs down and then they spin it at the end, right at the end, it's got this like little like rub. and you could feel it throughout the whole frame. My other motor did that. The other 3.5T motor, I did that. This 5T motor is doing that. I don't know what causes that. I'd be curious. I guess the way the torque is putting the wheel in there. But if anybody knows the exact reason why that's happening, I'd love to hear it in the comments. So when I'm installing my brakes back on, this is the time where I like to use the Allen key. The slightest bit of movement can put your caliper out of line with the disc. So there's been times where I've sat here for a half hour trying to get this thing perfect because you don't want that rubbing. It's a science, man. It's a science. Blinded by science. All right, so obviously I've got a rub. So you want to start on one side first, crank it down. I mean, I'd be asking for a miracle if I could get it fast. So one really important thing when you're doing this, be very careful you don't catch your finger in this part. I hacked on that one doing my front brake and it took the tip of my finger off once. It took a long time to heal. Just gotta be very careful. I mean, literally, it's like you move it a 64th of an inch and then it's rubbing. I don't know why they make these things so stinking close. You son of a... I can't believe it. I tried to tighten it down, it gets loose again. Right there, perfect. Now the problem is it's perfect. When I crank this down, I like to do it long end first just to put a little pressure on it because it likes to move as soon as that bolt hits resistance. You gotta be careful. All right, it's still good. You just gotta be careful when tightening. You do it very slowly. Well, she's on. She's tight. No movement. It's nice and locked in. Chain's not on yet. Controller's still hanging out because I want to do a little testing before I lock this thing all up. Make sure it works, right? All that work. Make sure it works. So I have it all hooked up. I use that secondary sensor. It should work. Shouldn't be any problems. And let's turn it on, see what happens. So we're gonna turn it on. Hit power. Oh, we got power. Look at that, no screen error. Well, that was to be expected. Here is the real moment of truth, twisting the throttle. And let's see what happens. Oh, she works, baby. She works smooth. Hit the brake. Stops. All right, so it's at 79 volts right now, so that's probably like 85% charge, I guess, maybe. I don't know, somewhere around there. So let's see what we get. So this is a 5T. That was a 3.5T. So when my 3.5T motor was up on this rack with no load, my top speed was, depending on the charge, 67 miles per hour usually is what it hit with no load. So that's, well, full charge. Yeah, probably the same thing. So let's see what happens when I max this out. So this is a 5T motor because the top speed was 48 miles per hour, which that's a good deal slower. Good deal slower, almost 20 miles per hour slower. But obviously I haven't ridden it, so I hope that initial torque is going to be there. I mean, it looks like it will be. I mean, it really cranks the when I'm hitting this, it's cranking the suspension, so maybe it does have more torque. Well, I mean, it has to. It better. It's like 11 o'clock at night out though. It's like 20 degrees outside, so I'm not going to venture outside tonight. I'll save that for the morning. Be like a kid on Christmas morning waking up to take it for a ride, see what happens. Those little posi lock plugs, those are awesome. You can actually take those right off, put them right back on. And they're small, so they work really well. I highly recommend those. They are expensive, as is everything else in the electric bike world, as you've probably discovered yourself by now. Costs some money. Gotta be like Scrooge McDuck, swimming in his money bin. But But they're cool, they work. So I definitely recommend those. I'm just gonna lock it all up as it is. And you know, we'll take it for a ride tomorrow, see what happens. And then we'll see how it feels. All right, see you in the morning.
Day 4.
What is up, everybody? We are on I don't even know what day it is. We have had so much rain here in Jersey. It's been ridiculous. First day of sun we've had in, man, I don't know, like a week. It's been so much rain. And then tomorrow, Christmas Eve, it's supposed to pour down rain all day the next day on Christmas. So, you know, you got to deal with what you got. But we got out here today in the woods. Beautiful, gorgeous day, which is actually not bad because the sand is more firm after you've had some rain, which is great, actually. I don't mind that. It's nice. Gives that like nice little crisp top on it. So what's the verdict here? So I took out this bike with the new 5T motor, this big old Dunlop K990 wheel. And so guys, when I first took it out, rode it on the road, you know, I was used to my 3.5T motor in a 19-inch wheel with a little smaller tire. We've got a 5T motor now and an 18-inch by 1.85 rim, bigger rim, and it's a much bigger tire, heavier tire, gummier tire. And as I was riding on the road, just, you know, going around my street a little bit, riding, and I thought to myself, wow, it does lift the wheel when you hit the acceleration, lifts it up. You hit about 15, 20 mile an hour on the road, and then the acceleration just kind of like that torque pull just drops off, which I was like, oh no. I was like, wow, that's quite different from a 3.5T motor. The 3.5T motor, once you get past 15 miles per hour, that thing just cranks and takes off all the way up to like, you know, 45 strong, and then it tops out. Mine topped out at like, you know, mid 50s, and then after the field weakening kicks in, it would get up to about 62, which would take a little bit. But so I was like, oh no, man, did I make the wrong decision? You know, what did I do here? Is my battery not strong enough? Whatever. So I got it out here in the woods today, and oh my God, I am grinning like this wide. This thing in the woods on tight trails is awesome. This tire hooks up, the acceleration, sometimes going over the whoops. I'm like, I gotta be careful because I'm wheeling too much over the whoops. It just kicks in there, pulls it up, around the turns, it digs in. And yeah, so in the woods, I'm loving this thing. All my regrets about what I did are gone. It's just a much better off-road riding experience with the 5T motor. Now, if you're a road rider, I'll be straight up with you. You're not going to like this motor. You know, if you like to get some speed, you like to go fast, this probably is not the motor for you, especially when you're in that mid-range torque area where that 3.5T motor really, you know, kicks butt. You know, you'd be passing cars with that thing, no problem. This one, when you get over 25 to 30 mile an hour point, it really falls off, which is fine by me because especially with this tire, I'm not going to be riding this thing on the road would ruin this tire pretty quick. But out here, it's the one bad thing about this tire out here is everybody knows where I've been riding because this thing is, you can see the trail, left a deep trail wherever you go with this thing when you hit the gas. One other thing I've noticed with this motor, and I don't know, this might be because it's cold out. I didn't start on 100% full charge. I was up there though. It was probably like in the mid 90s. I'm on the throttle constantly, like hard, because it's so much fun to just mash this throttle with this motor. It just throws dirt, kicks you around the turns. It goes really fast. It's just fun. So I think I've noticed my battery maybe getting used a little more than it was with a 3.5T motor because you're a little less throttle heavy on your starts. But with this, man, it's just so much fun to mash that throttle. I think I've been like, you know, using the battery a little more than I normally would have. I'm at like 7.7 miles in on my ride. Probably about 3 miles of that was getting here. So 4 miles, almost 5 miles in the woods so far. And I'm at, let's see. So the battery says I'm at 83%, which, you know, it's not too bad. considering I'm running 2 batteries, the first and the second. And I can't imagine if you put like a EBIKE 8000 controller on this with a real high amperage battery or high amperage LiPo pack. I don't even know what this thing would be like. It would be pretty insane, probably even uncontrollable to some degree in the woods. But yeah, so far I'm really liking it. It's my first ride, so we see as we do more rides. Guys, this is an example. I've tried to go up this hill with my 3.5T motor before, and it could not make it. It stopped right about there, almost at the top. The 5T motor from dead stop at the bottom powered right up it, no problem. Now, the dirt is a little more stiff today from all the rain we had, so that definitely plays into it, but I could just tell the power is definitely there to get up these big hills. I put a little piece of painter's tape somewhere here where there's a letter on the rim, and I put a piece of little painter tape on the tire to check and make sure that my tire is not spinning on the rim, and it didn't move. It stayed there from when I installed it because I used WD-40 to install it, so I just want to make sure it wasn't spinning. It's not, as you probably know, I don't have a rim lock on this tire, and so far it's been fine. I haven't noticed any problems with it. It's been on there tight. The bike itself as a whole is tight. There's no creaks, there's no groanings, there's no noise. It is just 100% pure silent out here, which is it's just awesome. I mean, you just can't complain about that. I'm really happy with it as it is now. May I upgrade to a different battery in the future? Yeah, possibly. I'll consider that. We'll see what happens. I'm also dumping a whole lot of money into my dirt bike right now. Which a little too much at this point, so I gotta be a little thrifty on what I do for the next few months here, but I'm gonna have fun on this as it is right now. Hey, so I just got back from my ride, and just a little follow-up information. The top speed I hit on the way home was 45 miles per hour as verified by the Relive app. It's the app I use for all my trails and stuff. I ended with 73.6 volts. And keep in mind, it's probably like 45 degrees outside, so it is cold. And that top speed was hit on the way home when I was probably a little less than 50% battery, so I definitely wasn't on a full charge when I hit that top speed of 45 miles per hour. And it takes a little bit to creep up to that speed as well. It doesn't just go up to like the 3.5T does on its top speed. When I was hitting that top speed, I also noticed that the screen said I was only doing about 41 miles per hour. So the screen and the GPS are a little out of sync at the higher speeds. Usually the lower speeds are pretty in sync because I have my wheel size set at 12 inches in the back to get the proper speed as synced up to a GPS. Also, it says my battery percent is like 48% right now. And I did, let's see. So I did a total of 15 miles. So I did a 15-mile ride, ended up with less than 50% battery. So yeah, I definitely used more battery power with this 5T motor because it was just so tempting to just crank this throttle down the whole time and just have a blast with it. And so, just as a reminder, my 3.5T motor top speed per this same app was 62 miles per hour. So, you're looking at a difference of maybe 20 miles per hour, 15 to 20 miles per hour, depending. The difference when you're up at those speeds is quite noticeable between the 5T and the 3.5T because you have torque up in that 30 to 40 mile an hour range. Whereas this really has no torque. It just kind of goes, slowly creeps up there past that 30 miles per hour point. So it's just something to keep in mind. But in the woods and off-road, man, I mean, this thing was a treat. It was a blast, flies up hills. I just had a lot of fun on it. So if you're thinking of this, if you have any other questions, anything specific you want to ask me, leave a question in the comments. Man, hit the like and subscribe button. I really appreciate your support through this journey. Man, I'll take your questions. I'll take your feedback, whatever you got. This is a growth journey for all of us e-bikers out here. You know, we all learn from each other. So let me know. I'll let you know. No hate, no judgment. We take it as it comes. All right, man. Thanks for sticking with me through another video. Until next time, you guys have a fun ride.